Luc Bouchard with Solvac Life Coaching Services. I've been a certified life skills coach for 22 years and I specialize in men's issues, what keeps men stuck, and how they struggle with intimacy. Hi, today is the 41st day of the 72-day challenge. We're in the 6th week and the weekly theme is intimacy. Our daily focus is emotionality, or how men deal with emotions, and the topic today is a bit of an odd one. Ready for this? It's, can a fish really study water? You're going, the hell's that about? Well, I'm going to tell you what that's about. But first of all, I just want to do a quick review about yesterday and how I talked in yesterday's video that we are really influenced by 3 generations before us, our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents. And I talked about how our work ethic, for example, really comes from what work ethic we saw from our parents, and that if you think about it, and if you talk to your parents, what kind of work ethic they had from their fathers or their mothers and their mothers' mothers. So really, we're not that far removed from 3 generations before us, and it's really important to understand that, especially when it comes to things like how we relate to our children, and how our parents related to us is how we're going to relate to our children. And a lot of that is really about how we're socialized. And I want to talk a little more about socialization and the influence of socializations that have on our life. And this is really the nature versus nurture argument in some regards. And this was all the rage many years ago, where you had social scientists going, well, really, we're influenced by our genes and that's all it is. And then others would say, no, we're influenced by our environment, what we grew up with, and that's the way it is. And my understanding is now we're influenced by both, our genes and our environment. But I'm specifically talking about the nurture aspect of that portion of it, and how we were socialized in our formative years, and how that has formed our belief systems in many ways. So there's several things that come into our socialization, and it starts with our family. Then our religion is included in that. What religion we grew up with, if we had any, and you really can't separate those in some regards. But then we look at the communities we live in, the culture within those communities. We're going to talk about the education we went through, what country we came from or that we're in. The economic times are also part of our socialization, and greater influences on society. So an example of that is going to be the human rights movement in the 60s, and how that really influenced so many things and changed so many things within our society. And it was really one of those turning points of how the world saw the world was. And these are all indications of how we're influenced by our society and our socialization in many ways. But specifically, it comes back to our childhood and what our parents were like on how that influences us to see the world. So, A, we need to understand that we're influenced by those, and B, if we don't, then I think that somehow we're missing the boat on something, or we maybe not have as good of a comprehension as we should. And this is where the idea of a fish studying water comes in. And if a fish really wanted to understand its environment, whether it lived in a river, a lake, or in the ocean, for it to truly comprehend all the influences that it would need to literally remove itself from its watery environment. And it would have to put on a wetsuit, a dry suit, I'm not really sure, so it could breathe, but be out of its fluid environment to look at it and go, oh, well, that thing that I live in that surrounds me is generally flat. It doesn't sustain itself. It just it doesn't really have its own, I guess it won't hold up on its own unless it's under a certain temperature, which is called frozen. And if you heat it up too much, then it evaporates and it turns into another state. Well, this is very interesting about the environment. Oh, and also there's other influences within it, such as currents, or there's going to be other things that live in it. And it has all these properties. And that a fish really can't understand all that if it had the intellect until it actually extradited itself and extracted itself from it and look at it? Well, in so many ways, we need to extradite ourselves or extract ourselves from our influences and to be able to go, what influences us? What affects us? What causes us to be a certain way under certain conditions? And if we're not aware of this stuff, then what happens is, frankly, we're just kind of going along with the flow, pun intended, with the fish out of water example. So it's really about understanding what we're influenced by in our life and what we've influenced by in our past life. And this is the nature versus nurture argument in a lot of ways, that what we're really talking about is that how we are, our nurture, what we were nurtured around, what we were exposed to, was really about our influences today. So I encourage you just to be aware of what is your environment and what have you been socialized and what are your belief systems and are you even aware of them? And that's what yesterday's video was about, is really coming to terms with how our parents influenced us through their belief systems. And this is fairly, this is kind of like heady stuff. What does this really mean? Is it really that important? I'm going, well, yeah, it is. Because so many of us were unhappy with our childhood. So many of us were not pleased with, how our parents treated us. And I just encourage you to do it differently and understand your environment. Because your kids deserve it, and so do you. So don't just be kind of subjective to whatever happens in life. Actually look at it. Why do you make the choices you do? And make different choices when it comes to communicating and being intimate with the people in our lives. And being authentic with self. Because if you're not, how are you going to be authentic with anyone else? So those are my thoughts on a fish studying water and intimacy, and I guess that's it. So I hope you have a great day, and this is Luc Bouchard with Solvac Life Coaching Services. I've been a certified life skills coach for 22 years, and I specialize in being a fish out of water, because I have been for many years of my life. So you take care, and tomorrow is the life skills process, and we will talk to you soon.